It is time for the one and only, the premier, the only official podcast of Pro Rodeo. Your Chute Bosses are ready, so let's give it a go and talk some rodeo.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Chute Bosses podcast. Tanner and Tracy here. We're live in Las Vegas, Tracy, and what a cool opportunity here. Las Vegas Events flies out all the 2023 PRCA and WPRA World Champions. They come here to Las Vegas, a chance to, partake in the city and everything that goes along with it, but also gives us an opportunity to sit down and chat with the athletes.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity we don't get throughout the year because they're all just going to different rodeos. For them to be in one isolated place, for us to get to talk to all of them, is just a wonderful opportunity.
And so that kind of leads us right off the top of the show here, Tracy, as we always do. It's time for our Pro Rodeo props, and I already mentioned them in a little bit, but let's give Pro Rodeo props to Las Vegas Events, because I don't know if rodeo fans out there really truly understand what LVE, as we like to call them, does for the sport of rodeo. It's not only just us out here in Las Vegas. They really make the NFR go and provide us a great partner here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas has been the home of the NFR since 1985, outside of the 1 year in COVID 2020. They've been incredible. They always wanted to move somewhere where they could stay, pretty much. And Oklahoma City was there for a long time, but Vegas is Vegas, and it's a destination. That's the biggest thing I learned about when I've been covering the NFR is, not that people didn't want to go to Oklahoma City or different places, but people make a trip to Vegas. Maybe not all 10 nights because it's 10 nights, but they'll make a weekend out of it. And Vegas is 24/7 and never sleeps. It's Thomas and Mack is like, it's Cameron Indoor Arena for Duke. It's just an incredible place, and I love it here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So as we mentioned, and we always do here on the Chute Bosses show, let's jump into the short round, Tracy, and what a past weekend it was for bareback rider Cole Reiner. He goes to Darby, Montana, and puts on a show up there. And of course, you got to have a dancing partner when it comes to rodeo. And his draw in the finals ended up being a good one. It was Nightcrawler, 2023 Pendleton Whiskey Bareback Horse of the Year, and they tango for 92 points. Ultimately, he wins the event, and that's one of those events that gives the bareback riders a chance to really showcase themselves, and they did that this past weekend in Darby.
Yeah, there's tons of 89s, 90-point rides there. it's always been that way. That's where Rocker Steiner set the world record in
Casey Field, 93.5 last year on Nightcrawler.
Yeah, Nightcrawler. It speaks to how good that horse is. But they get the best bareback riders in the world.
The best animals, yeah.
Yeah, and the best animals, because the best riders are there. And a win like that will kind of jumpstart your season as you get ready to go into the big summer run. And I'm sure Cole was extremely excited. But, they love that event in Darby. Yellowstone's involved, the Montana thing. And I know they get great crowds there, the backdrop, everything. And I was just surprised because this year there doesn't seem like there's been that many 90s.
There really hasn't. I have to look back. That might be the highest scored ride of the year.
I think it is.
Yeah,
and there was multiple 90s. The guys taking third and fourth were like 88 points. I was like, wow.
Well, no. Second and third were 91 and 91 and a half.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. That's like an NFR pin, basically. Because although usually the NFR isn't quite that top heavy. But Cole went in as the season leader, I want to say in 22 to the NFR. He's got the potential to win it all. It's kind of like these guys, they get on these rolls, and a lot it comes down to Vegas, and a lot comes down to the draw in Vegas. And as we say it all the time, capitalizing on opportunities.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And then also some unfortunate news, Tracy, the passing of a Gold Card member, also a longtime PRCA rodeo judge. I believe it was early last week, but, a tough moment there for Pro Rodeo and a chance for us to be able to showcase, one of the great judges.
Yeah, Red Rogers,
yep.
I believe in Red's his nickname. He passed away at 90. He'd been an NFR judge. He'd been a PRCA judge for 20 years. He was a great bareback rider back in the day. The research I've done on him, he worked for the Steiner Rodeo Company, he worked for Butler's, he worked for Ivory, the stock contracting company. And back then, and Bobby Steiner was saying, those guys would work with the stock contracting companies basically to pay the bills so they could rodeo. And Bob even brought up the good point, like, not everybody was Harry Tompkins, guys that making enough money to just rodeo. So they were like part of the outfit, and they were showing up at the rodeo, driving the truck, doing anything they asked. So, it's sad. And we also lost John Witch Holman,
Yeah, that's very true.
Related to Lefty Holman and
his grandpa, yeah.
His grandpa, and he was an NFR guy for 70 to 72, I believe. He'd placed, he won a round, and they called him Witch, and couldn't get enough good things said about him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he sounded like he just had a zest for life.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if that's, and I know he went out suddenly, but if you want to live your life and have that zest, and that's kind of how Lefty is, and
yeah,
real charismatic, and they said Lefty has got a lot of his characteristics. But if you're gonna, have that zest for life, at least you have no regrets.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Hey, Tracy, since we're out here in Las Vegas, it's kind of a special show. I don't think we're going to get an 8 questions segment, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. That's fine. I guess if you had to choose one event in pro rodeo that you love covering, what would it be?
Well, it's my main event that I love covering, which people are going to think I'm crazy, steer roping. I love steer roping. It's great horsemanship. I watched Trevor Brazil be the Joe Montana of steer roping. I mean, there was Guy Allen, and I covered Guy when I first started doing rodeo way back in the early 90s, and then saw Trevor every time he had to step up to win a steer roping world championship, he did. Obviously Cole Patterson now, but he's won 2 out of the last 3, and Scott Snedeker. But I would say steer roping, because all the rough stock events, the thing I say about rough stock events, it's kind of like I told people with NFL football, you don't realize how crazy and how fast things happen until you watch it right on ground level.
That's true.
Like, it's unbelievable. 8 seconds, they're only doing stuff for 8 seconds, and you watch that 8 seconds, it's like literally getting in your car and doing donuts and trying to miss someone coming head on at you and then jumping off and cheering.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what it's like to me, but I would say, as crazy as it seems, is probably my favorite event, steer roping.
So I threw one at you, throw one back at me.
So what's your best, I venture to guess, but what's your favorite event?
You venture to guess, let's see. I don't know. I think I have a fascination and a love for steer wrestling. I think that's awesome. I love that. But I'm going to go with saddle bronc riding.
That was going to be my guess.
Yeah, because saddle bronc riding is just, the art that goes into saddle bronc riding, how pretty it can be when you put on a good saddle bronc ride. It is basically, poetry in motion. The horse jumps, you're beating them to the front end with your feet. You're just putting together a good spur ride, or whatever the case may be in that situation. But I'd say I'd have to go with saddle bronc riding, and we have so many good saddle bronc riders going in the PRCA, a lot of great events. And you mentioned steer roping is going to be your favorite event. Here in a while I'm going to jump out of the seat. We'll get 2-time PRCA world champion steer roper Cole Patterson. He's going to jump in. Tracy will sit down and chat with Cole. All of that's be coming your way. Let's take a quick break, Trace, then we'll come back. We'll go through some of our other segments right here on the Chute Bosses, live from Las Vegas.
Farm life means always hoping for the best, but planning for uncertainty. You have to be ready for the next everything, the next dawn, the next season, the next harvest, the next technology, the next challenge, and the next generation. No matter what comes your way, we can help keep you ready for the next.
Into our next segment, Tracy, it's time for our viewer question, and they want to know, as they just asked you, we know Trevor has won all of his world titles, but to put you on the spot, can you break down how many by each event?
No, I think it's 14 all around. It's 8 in steer roping. So that's 22, and he's won 26. So I think he just won the 1 tie down.
Is it 1 tie down and then
23 and then
3
5
team roping?
Oh, and then team. Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused. I thought it was just 1 team roping and others in. I don't know.
We're just doing it off the cuff here. We appreciate your question, but that's one of the ones that obviously Trevor's main event. He had a lot in steer roping, and he had a lot in the all around. There's what did we just say? 22 of the 26.
22 of the 26 are those 2 events. Well, two things. So
then you throw in his team roping accomplishments, but then also tie down as well. He was just truly one of those guys that could do anything and everything in the sport of rodeo. Besides rough stock, man. Well, maybe we asked Trevor if he can get on a horse, huh?
But he walked away. He was like 44, I think he was when he walked away. And there's rumors out there that he might get back involved with team roping with his son.
Did you just say 44?
Yeah.
He walked away in 44?
No, walked away at 44.
Oh, at 44.
No, he was team roping with Everett
Are
Shaw.
you losing it, Trace?
Wake up! Where am I? Vegas? Where am I? South Point?
You're acting like Buck, man.
Yeah, acting like Buck. But yeah, Trevor's unbelievable. I mean, and like I said, 26 world titles. I don't know that. I mean, Stetson arguably has a chance.
He's gonna have to stay healthy for at least the next 10 years.
Yeah, he'd have to stay healthy for a long time, and to do it in rough stock would be a tough road.
Yeah.
And just because it's so physically demanding.
Maybe Stetson will pick up a rope.
I mean, all those guys know how to cowboy a little bit, but being a cowboy and being able to do
being
it
a world champion
being
at
the highest level is a little different.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And we have our historic NFR moment, and Tracy, this is just us just kind of spitballing back and forth and thinking of what's out there. But one historic NFR moment that I want to go to, let's just go back a couple years ago. Jess Pope, a young kid from Waverly, Kansas, chance to win his first world title. And he went into round 10, it all came down to, Jess, can you make a clean ride? Mm-hmm. Can you not get bucked off? Can you not miss your mark out? And Jess Pope put it all together. And I don't know if Andrew or Chris, when they edit this podcast, if they can throw that video up of Jess Pope when he did it. But, that was a pressure-packed moment. And we've had a chance to talk with Jess. And he also mentioned that, his good friend and former world champion Tim O'Connell was right there providing him with insight of stay focused, stay locked in. But that's a pretty historic NFR moment here recently of Jess winning that first world title.
And he's put in his pocket $157,000 already. Number one in the average. One more ride and get a gold buckle, Jesse Pope. Folks, no matter what the score is, that man just rode 10 out of 10 in Las Vegas. We're going to give you what we think about Mr. Pope here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, as you said, a clean ride. He just needed to stay on for 8 seconds because he needed to stay in the average.
Didn't matter what the score was.
I mean, he just needed to stay in the average and he was going to win. But that's like saying, well, I just need to make a 2-foot putt. You know? I mean, it's a lot easier said than done. And animals are unpredictable. And he went on to win 3 averages in a row, and he's one of the best in the business right now going. But the moment you speak of Tim O'Connell giving him the pep talk, I mean, Tim's a former wrestler. I mean, you could just feel, you want to run through a brick wall. But you imagine how amped up he was.
You got to amp yourself up, but then you got to calm down.
You want to, because you don't want to be crazy amped up because you lose concentration. But yeah, Jess is such a good guy. I mean, such a great guy, great competitor, and one of the best we have going. And yeah, it's a moment that, I mean, it's fresh in our mind because it just happened.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So there's your historic NFR moment of the week, and it leads us into one of our crazier segments that we have here on the Chute Bosses, Buck's Pro Rodeo Word of the Day. I remember Buck, you went to college. I don't even remember what last week's word of the week was. Do you, Tracy?
I can't even remember. Buck's done some crazy words of the week. I know it was Heartbreak Hotel. It was tractor. I think it was tractor.
And then he was lifting. Yeah, it was tractor. You're right.
I was lifting. I wasn't lifting. Casey, one of our guys in the office, was helping me. Well, Buck joined
helping you?
Yeah. Well, we were lifting.
Yeah.
And I went to the gym and I saw Buck. He was doing some squats, not doing them well, but he was doing some squats. So who knows with Buck? Who knows with Buck?
Yeah.
And as I told Buck, when I saw Buck, because Buck joined the podcast, Buck's unique, just like everybody else. That's kind of how Buck is.
He needs a little help in life sometimes too. Let's go to Buck. He's got your Pro Rodeo Word of the Day.
I'm Buck, official correspondent of the Chute Bosses, the official podcast of the PRCA. My word for the day is poser. Seems like there's some clown around here that hosts the Chute Bosses that thinks he's me. There ain't no other Buck. I'm Buck. Like Miley Cyrus says, no one can love me as much as me. Buck, the one and only, don't forget it.
In 1936, a group of cowboys and cowgirls came together for the common good of rodeo. They accomplished a feat that sparked a fire of greatness in countless Western athletes. Today, the Western lifestyle burns on in our contestants' and fans' hearts and souls. We aim to preserve the cowboy code and keep the Western lifestyle alive. Together as one, we are pro rodeo.
Welcome back in. I'm Tracy Rink here in a special edition of the Chute Bosses with Cole Patterson, reigning 2023 steer roping world champion. So what's this season been like for you? You won in 21, you won in 23, and you're off to another great season leading the standings. What's this been like for you so far?
Yeah, I've been pretty blessed and pretty fortunate. Had two pretty good horses to start my career out here, and anytime you can have a good horse, it's a blessing. But to have two of them at the same time, it's double the fun, because you can kind of give one some rest here and there during the summer as you go, kind of let them freshen back up a little bit, and then the horsepower in our event is so important that if you're not riding a good horse, you just as well stay home, because it's impossible without a good horse.
Sure. And talk about your one horse is named, that was horse of the year, was
both horses actually that I've had
been horse of the year, right?
Yeah, I've been horse of the year. Tigger. Yeah, he's been huge in my career to start it off. I got him right at the beginning of my rookie year, and we kind of learned together, and he's been through the highs and the lows. He's probably about at the end of his career, but that horse doesn't owe me anything, and he'll spend the rest of his time at my house, and whatever he needs, he'll be accommodated.
And then you have the Dunn horse, right? Dunny?
Yep. Yeah. Then I kind of learned how to steer rope on him, and he's been a huge backup for any time I needed to let Tigger take a break. But he's kind of stepped into the A-team role this year, and he's been good.
Yeah. So I know steer roping, a lot of people get involved with bareback or different events when they're like 18. It doesn't really happen that way in steer roping. Can you explain to people, maybe the average fan, like, why doesn't the 18-year-old guy steer rope?
I don't know, probably because growing up, high school rodeo, college rodeo doesn't have steer roping. Now college rodeo has introduced steer roping the last couple years, and I think it's really helped with the age of the contestants, kind of bringing in some newer blood, some younger guys, and the money's getting better now. And they say the old saying, money talks. These younger guys look up and see guys that, hey, this guy can win $150,000, $60,000 a year. Maybe that's the path I want to go down. Whereas in the past, if you could go be just an average calf roper, you could make more than some of the top tier steer ropers. So money's gotten a lot better. The college deal sure hasn't hurt us at all. It's helped out with the entries, helped out with getting some younger guys in there. And but yeah, I would say, even just in my short career, the average age of the steer ropers come down a bunch, because there's some young guys out there right now that are pretty tough.
Sure. So you speak about your career, you follow in the footsteps of your dad, a legend, 4-time world champion Rocky Patterson. Did your dad kind of make you wait? Or, I mean, obviously you had a great mentor in your dad, and you and I have discussed this in the past, but what was it like having him as your dad and then getting involved in the sport that, the event that he's one of the best in the world at?
Yeah, he actually let me tie a couple down just kind of out of the blue when I was, 13, 14 years old. And then just took it away from me. I mean, like introducing candy to a kid and then telling them they can't have any more. But yeah, he wanted me to go ahead and go to college and get a degree, kind of go that route. And he wanted me to college rodeo. I think that, if college rodeo teaches you anything, kind of how to take care of your stuff, be a little bit more disciplined. You're kind of on your own, whereas a high school rodeo, a lot of kids still have their parents to, get their horses ready and help them out. The college deal is kind of leads you into rodeo on your own, where, you have to be disciplined, you have to take care of your stuff. And so he wanted me to go that route, and probably a good thing. I don't know what my career would have looked like had I started at 18, but hard to say that it would have started better.
Sure. So obviously, I know you've had some memorable moments, and one has to be, I mean, going to the NFSR with your dad multiple times, and then last year you win the world and he wins the average. That had to be just like the most incredible thing, is just as a family.
Yeah, no, it was the NFSR's kind of a family event almost for us anyway. It's right in between me and my dad's house, and you know, it's not far at all from where he grew up. He's got a ton of family back there. You know, our family's pretty good size, and most of them live, you know, in the vicinity of the Kansas Star.
Sure.
So it's almost like a family reunion every year. But yeah, you know, I've rodeoed with him since I started, and it was good. You know, whenever I went out there as a rookie and, you know, kind of coming up, you know, to get to rodeo with a guy like him, you know, we did things a little different than, you know, probably a normal 22-year-old would on the rodeo road. You know, we drove extra miles to make sure that our horses stayed in good pens. You know, we weren't out all night running around. You know, we were get something to eat, get back to the trailer, you know, take care of business, and, you know, just helped me grow up probably. And you know, I'm not saying you can't have success the other way in rodeo, but, you know, it's been good, and yeah, it's all worked out.
So you follow in your dad's footsteps, and I know, you know, there's always high expectations, and you follow a legend, and then it's your dad, and then you've already won 2 world championships, and in 21 you set the gold standard for all of NFSR, you know, winning $85,000 there, winning almost $200,000 in the season. Then 22, you were knocking on the door in the 10th round, almost won again. And then last year, you had another incredible season, won a little bit less money, but I mean, it's all still a gold buckle. So can you fathom how crazy 21 and 23, even your last 3 years, you finished first, second, and first? I mean.
Yeah, no, it's, like I said, it's been really good. I don't know that there'll ever be another season that felt like 21 did. You know, it was just, yeah, rodeo is highs and lows, but 21 was so many highs and not very many lows. You know, it was kind of just riding a wave the whole way through the year, and, you know, you're gonna have your ups and downs out there in the summer, and in 21 there really wasn't very many downs, and you know, it seemed like everywhere we went, you know, things just worked out. My horse was working just as good as ever, and it was a dream season, I guess you could say. And then it led right into the NFR. You know, I missed a steer in the 10th round, but still won the average, won the world, won more money at the NFSR than, you know, ever had been won. And it was just I wouldn't even call it a roller coaster of a season. It was just it was just highs the whole season. So, you know, 23 was a great year for me. It was the highs and lows of rodeo. It was, you know, there was great days, there was hard days, and you know, the lows really help you to try to keep the highs in perspective, because, man, it especially in the steer open, it only go one day you can be unstoppable, and the next day you can be nobody. And so, you know, that sets you up for life, and, you know, life is a roller coaster. And but yeah, it's been good. You know, 22 obviously didn't work out like I had hoped, but, you know, that's part of it, I guess.
Sure. So I know I keep talking about family, but you got a little baby boy that's going to be 1. Your wife, what's it like? I mean, I know he's just a baby, but to have him grow up in this, and you're doing great things. I mean, you're still super young, but what's it like now that you have a baby boy and, you know, everything else involved with your own family?
Yeah, it's I'm super blessed. I'm married to my best friend. You know, dang near have a 1-year-old now. That really changes things. But
it's Pruitt, right?
Yep. Pruitt is almost 1, and he's a blast. He's the life of every party, and it makes it harder to be away from home for sure. You know, it's hard to be away from, you know, my wife and stuff, but it's a whole nother level whenever you've got a little kid at home. And but it's, you know, for them to grow up in something like this, I think it's a good thing. It's a good place to raise kids. You know, lots of good people in the rodeo world. And you know, I kind of came up as a kid looking up to my dad as almost kind of like a hero figure. And not to say that I wouldn't have had he just had a regular job like somebody else, but you know, probably it put him on a pedestal a little bit more to me, that, you know, when I was growing up and being a kid, I just wanted to do things that would make him happy. And you know, he was my hero growing up. And so you know, if I can provide that for my kid, then, you know, all I care about is that he's healthy and happy in whatever he does. I don't care if he ever picks up a rope or anything, but as long as he's a good kid and you know, is healthy and happy, if I can provide somebody to look up to, then I hope I can do that.
Sure. And your dad, I know at some point sooner than later, I know he might be retired now, so to speak. I know he got injured. Who knows what Rocky's always kind of doing, what Rocky wants to do. And I'm sure he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, regardless. But you look back at the greatest steer ropers ever, outside of watching your dad. I mean, Guy Allen is the legend. I mean, won 18 world titles. He's the best ever in a single event in the PRCA. Brazil was obviously extremely talented. Was there guys that you looked at that you saw some of the things they did, or was it just kind of finding your own way?
Yeah, no, I feel like I've taken a little bit from a lot of different people. You know, when I was a little kid, you know, I didn't really pay the greatest of attention to what was going on at the rodeos and stuff. I just knew that Guy was Guy. You know, he was unbeatable. You know, most years, when he was in his prime, every year people were trying to win second. Right. Because, you know, it was almost like a consolation gold buckle to be second. Right. Because he was on another level, especially when he had, you know, Jeremiah, the black horse that he won like 11 world titles on. You know, people were shooting for second. And then, you know, after he kind of comes through his prime and gets to the end of his career, you know, Trevor and Scott kind of start battling out there, and they're kind of in their prime. And, you know, Trevor was kind of the same way. He focused on 3 events, something that Guy didn't do. Right. And it probably did take away a little bit from his steer open. You know, he probably could have won more than, what did he win, 7, 8? 8. Yeah. He probably could have won more than 8, you know, if he had just focused on steer open. But, you know, it's hard to say ifs and buts in rodeo, but, you know, I looked up to Guy, and I looked up to Trevor, and I looked up to Scott, and I looked up to my dad, and those were the gold standard. And you know, I feel like as I watch my roping, I feel like there's a little bit of everybody, all those guys in there, and you know, they're all very approachable and helpful. You know, Guy didn't have any sons; he had some daughters. And so he almost, you know, looked at me a little bit like a son. And, you know, we've had some talks and we've had some sessions together. And you know, I text him if I'm having a bad streak or something's going wrong. I send him a video or something, say, hey, what do I need to do different here? And, you know, he knows more about it than anyone with a breath. Right. And so he can help me out usually. And then, you know, Trevor was a very approachable guy, and he's helped me out with a few things, and Scott's the same way. And obviously, you know, anytime I have any questions, my dad can help me. Right. And you know, it's just hard to think that, you know, of being born into a better scenario, I guess. And not that I didn't have to get out there and put the work in, but right. You know, some of those guys had some knowledge and some wisdom that maybe helped me cut a few corners. Sure. Maybe learn a lesson that I didn't have to learn the hard way, or, you know, something along those lines.
Well, I know you're busy. I know it's a crazy season. I know there's a lot left to go, but hopefully it's going to be gold buckle number 3. I appreciate you joining us here on the special edition of the Chute Bosses. had Cole Patterson as our guest, but thanks for everybody for listening, viewing, streaming, catching us all the channels, social media channels you can. Thanks for Cole. Thanks for being with us here.
Thank you guys.